Welcome, friends. Again, again, I am back after a long time to my YouTube channel, Kuldeep Suri 7102 or Technical Kuldeep Suri. EHV stations, Part A, Importance of C and 10 delta in the life of equipments. This topic we are going to discuss today. This is very important as far as the elongability, accessibility towards the elongability of equipments is concerned. In our earlier series, you will find that we have discussed so many parts in transmission system, and we have discussed the transformers, etc. Now, in substation series, we are going to discuss part A, that is the importance of C and 10 delta in the diagnostics of substation equipment. Part B will be earthing, general concept. Part C, skin and edge effect. Part D, switchyard schemes. Part E, switchyard gears, that is CT, PT, etc. Part F will be relays, etc., etc. So here I would like to have a disclaimer that all slides, etc., has been prepared by me and are based on the data and record available and based on the experience. However, there may be certain slides or data may tally with somebody, and that is coincidental, not intentional. Request once again, I would request that please do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment on my YouTube channel. And your support, that is subscription, will again strengthen me to carry on with this type of making slides. A tree should love the ground on which it has to stand. Basically, the meaning is that wherever you are working, whether it is any field in electrical transmission or any subject, you should love that. And when you love that, definitely you will like it. Importance of C and 10 delta in the life of equipment. This is a topic which we are going to discuss. This type of importance of 10 delta and capacitance came into enforce around 10 to 15 years back. Earlier to that, it was not in existence, and then after detailed investigation, this was enforced by CA and other power sector utilities that this test is very important to assess the life of EHV equipments. Topics here, what we are going to this understanding acceptance value and deviations, understanding में capacitance and tan delta, then acceptance में what are the capacitance value should be, tan delta, test procedures, and data availability track record, because which always becomes very important, thermal imaging, regular and with respect to test, skin and edge effect and corona effect. Skin and edge effect will be discussing in the coming period or in the coming future presentations. The capacitor is the ability of a body to store an electrical charge, a common form of energy. Storage device is a parallel plate capacitor. In a parallel plate capacitor, capacitance is directly proportional to the surface area of the conductor plates and inversely proportional to the separation distance between the plate, which is mathematically C is directly proportional to E A by D, that is area oblique distance. So where C is the capacitor, area is the parallel plates and D is the distance. Then E is the relative permeability, that is the permeability of the material being used. Thus, C is directly proportional to 1 by D. Now, if you look into the dielectric material, there is a charge when a dielectric material there is a flow of energy, or there are two plates which are separated from each other by a dielectric material, there is a flow of charge from one field to another field, or from one plate to another plate. The A dielectric material is composed of bonded molecules, and capacitance. And if the charge on the plates are plus Q and minus Q, and the voltage between the plates, then the capacitance unit is C is already referred as Q by B, and unit is farads. Farad was a scientist who invented this capacitance values. Farad capacitors, when charged with 1 coulomb of electrical charge, will have a potential difference 1 volt between its plates. This is one of the way to understand what is 1 farad. Or for a series circuit, if you look into this presentation, for series circuit, tan delta is equal to omega Cs Rs is equal to UR by UC, and which is mathematically or graphically representative in this vector diagram. Tan delta is also called as a dissipation factor. Dissipation factor means that C and tan delta, they should be in close to unity, otherwise there is a problem. So there are certain for a series circuit, the values are different. For a series circuit, tan delta is IR oblique IC, that is 1 upon WCP oblique RP, and which can be very well seen in this vector diagram. And for electrical engineers, those who are working in this field, is very easy to understand these vector diagrams. And this is applicable, as I have told, for a parallel circuit. Principles of measurement. Measurement of Cn delta and the test works on the principle of any insulation in its pure state acts as a capacitor. The test involves applying a very low frequency AC voltage. A low frequency causes a higher value of capacitor reactance, which leads to low power requirement during the test, and the current will be limited. Recommended values, capacitance. Capacitance of an equipment is different from different manufacturers. However, allowable limit for different equipment is plus minus 6% of the previous values. What I mean to say in this is that in case if the previous value is X, so next allowable value will be plus minus 6%, and the time period allows is 1 year. And tan delta for a new commissioned equipment is 0.002 maximum, and for equipment in services it is 0.007. The very meaning of this is that in case the tan delta value goes beyond 0.007, it means that the equipment is in danger state and immediate action has to be taken. Now there are so many ways of taking action. That is, one is you do a thermoscanning also, but still, if the value goes on increasing after certain period of time, let me say 0.007 to 0.005 within a period of 2 months or 3 months, then it is always better to replace the equipment before it blasts and creates damage to other equipments. Rate of rise per year is normally allowed with 0.001 but if you look into this formula, if it means that the equipment can get damaged after 7 years service, if we took it or if we take it 0.001 and to a maximum value of 0.007, it means that equipment, that is what I have said, the track values and track record has to be maintained. It means that still the equipment is not in safe condition of working, and you have to replace it, you have to take immediate action. But these are the general limited values which has been recommended by so many companies or which are accepted by so many companies during course of service. Alternatively, CN10 delta is also known as loss angle or dissipation factor test. What is CN10 delta test? Diagnostic signature test conducted on bushing, winding, CT, CVT, grading capacitor, etc. Measures indicate quality of insulation, indicates deterioration of the insulation, gives fair idea of aging of insulation, and able to predict healthiness oblique life. This is what I have stated in my previous slide also. The maximum value is 0.007, and for capacitance the maximum value deviation is from the original value to plus minus 6%. But if the rate of rise is abnormal, our rate of rise is very fast, then definitely there is some problem. But there is a problem in the equipment and it has to be suitably handled. Now, where it is to be conducted, that is bushing, winding, CT, CVT, grading capacitors, and it indicates the quality and gives fair idea of aging of the insulation. Then why to measure? Indicates changes due to stress on the insulation. And when to measure? During after indicates quality strength of insulation in new manufactured equipment. During commissioning indicate effect of insulation during transportation erection. In service indicated deterioration of insulator. Now where to measure? In service rate of deterioration or failure can be predicted and corrective action can be taken. Maintenance, overhauling, or even replacement of equipment can be decided based on deterioration or the track record or the deterioration test results. Timely action helps to avoid major failure and also prevent consequent losses. That is, when an equipment fails, there is a chance of blast and it may damage to the other equipments also. No power is costlier than no power. Once Dr. Homi J. Baba said that no power is costlier than no power. It means that when we spend crores of rupees in an equipment or in a substation, and if there is a failure on account of ignorance on this end, then it becomes more costlier. Let me say, if there is a failure of transformer bushing on account of ignorance, then this damage is cause has a consequential so many effects that it becomes very costly. So better to take preventive action than to commit any further loss. Better work on the principle of three P's, that is prevention, prediction, and proaction. See and tell data testing. Now we will discuss how to test it. C and tell delta measurement is based on the principle of Shearing bridge by applying 10 kV. It measures C as a global average of equipment. Thus, slight decrease represents deterioration of dielectric. And schematic diagram of shearing bridges. This is schematic diagram of shearing bridge which everybody has learned during his course of engineering, and this diagram is very familiar to all these electrical engineers or those who are field engineers. That one is the test element, standard capacitor, because shearing bridge compares value between the two, that is standard capacitor as well as a test, and then a null point is obtained which gives you the value. CN10 delta in a bushing, then there is a terminal in the bushing, that is LV, and R in a CT. Then there is HV bushing, then it is measured between the two, that is the capacitance. This is a test equipment and it is placed in these 2 points are placed in shearing bridge, and then the values are compared. Now CT equivalent circuit is represents over here. where you will find that a CT is a test equipment and it is compared and you will get a value of C. CN10 delta, there are three modes of testing, that is ungrounded specimen test, GST grounded specimen test, and GSTG grounded specimen test with GART. There are different type of manufacturers equipment available wherever you can have a measurement method. You can follow any method. All methods are equivalent to each other, and there may be very slight difference in getting ready. But one thing is very sure, that if this year you do UST test, that is ungrounded mode, the next year you have to conduct ungrounded mode only. You cannot do UST, GST, EST every time. The mode of test cannot be changed. Otherwise, it gives an erratic values, and that erratic value creates a confusion in diagnostics. In UST mode, this earth point as well as the top city point is, they are taken into consideration. And if you look into in UST mode, this is a test diagram showed which you have to go through it, and test is connected between HV and measured as R, and then the L value is compared. L R value is compared, R sorry, C value is compared. In GST mode, again, if you go through this diagram, that method is same, only there is one additionally earthing point is used. In the mode of test of GST, HV test lead of kit is connected to high voltage terminal of the test object. Other end of test is always grounded. Measuring lead may or may not be connected to ground. The input to the measuring circuit shall be through LV, R or Y. Moreover, in this mode, current and losses to ground are also measured. GST mode G, that it is carried out when there are two capacitors and testing is to be performed, or individual capacitor, or wherein an application of HV voltage during testing, current passes through two capacitors. Connections. The connections are expressed over there. I need not to explain. In this mode, current and losses to the ground are also, whereas in GST mode, grounded, current and losses were not measurable, but here the losses are also measurable. HV terminal lead plays a very important role. This lead should have the minimum resistance, and it should have a 10 kV insulation bonding to the tune of 10 kV, because we apply when the C10 delta is done, it is done at the 10 kV level. But this lead plays a very important role, because you have to do a very solid connection, and there should not be any leakage to leakage when it is this lead is placed on ground, or this lead should not have any leakage current through ground. Limitations of CN10 delta testing. Cable length. Cable length should be minimum as possible. Sharp bend should be avoided, because when there are sharp bends in the cables, C changes. Cable resistance. Cable should have this particular cable should have very low values. It should be a pure copper. And cable handling. Cable handling means under normal course it should be stored in a proper fashion. Its handling should be very critical. Its insulation, outer insulation, inner sheath insulation should not be damaged. So, see, storage or the handling of this cable lead, 10 kV lead should be, is plays a very important role in this thing. Precautions of measurement. Equipment under test must be de-energized or discharged, isolated from the system, properly grounded. In case of transformer, all terminals of each winding, including neutrals, must be connected together to eliminate any effect on the winding inductance on the insulation measurement. Neutral should be isolated from ground. Precautions. Again, do not apply test voltage when windings are under vacuum. Apply voltage to the recommended up to the recommended values. So the recommended values for a 220 kV or a 400 kV or a transformer is 10 kV. For a transformer of 132 kV, then the recommended values are less than 10 kV. Then low test voltage is sufficient to assess the general level of dryness, healthiness of the insulation system. While testing with some of all the transformer leads, core and coils out of the liquid, maintain adequate clearance between the all energized floating and grounding conductors. The very meaning of this is that transformer should be properly oil filled, it should be insulated, it should be as good as the transformer is in service, and there should be no vacuum or less oil in the transformer. Other precaution: maintain track record. Record one method only a comparison. I have already told either it should be GST mode or it should be GSTG mode, because you cannot compare with the different methods. And equipment, as far as possible, equipment should also be same. CN delta transformer. Here it is an equivalent circuit of the transformer, which is easy to understand. There are various capacitors involved in the winding, from winding to winding and from phase to phase. Then there are cakes in between. So there are n number of C's inside the transformer, and they have a series or parallel combination. So this is the for a two winding equivalent circuit for a two winding transformer. If you go through this winding, then HV LV, even there is a C between HV and LV, and there is a C and HV to tank and LV to tank. So this is the testing of a two winding transformer. All the windings are from primary side and secondary side are to be shorted, and then measurement has to be done by the help of the lead and the shearing bridge. So CN10 delta test cables, then if you have measured this different type of done test on different type, then GST mode, GSTG mode, UST mode, then all records are to be maintained, and these are the certain formulations, combinations which has been expressed over there. So GST mode, again I have representative over here, that research or the result will be CH plus CHL. In GST mode, measurement will be result. In GSTG mode, result will be CH only. And in UST mode, result will be CHL only. So test 4, that is test 1 minus test 2 is equal to CHL. These are the various combinations, expressions, and is honestly speaking is very difficult to understand in one go. But if you go through this and have a practical experience, everybody will be in a position to understand that ultimately test 1 minus 2 is CHL. GST mode test 5, again there is a way to carry out this. And there is another mode, GSTC guard method, and test 7, then test 5 minus test will be again CHL. We can. No power factor. Tan delta, sine delta, oblique cos delta, or sine square delta plus cos square is equal to 1, or cos delta is cos phi is equal to tan delta oblique underscore of 1 plus tan, and that is 1 by 3x by 1. Now, vector representation of power factor is well-known phenomena, and which is well known over here. Under normal course, what we feel that IR should be in a 90 degree with the IC and IR, but definitely on account of power factor, see there is always an angle between IC and IR. So insulation as a capacitor, again, insulation system associated with high voltage equipment is quite complex and difficult to compose. It has consists of number of resistors and capacitors element arranged in many varied ways. For discussion and analysis, it is convenient to represent an insulation specimen by a single capacitor combined with a single resistor. No test voltage is applied against the capacitor, then test voltage is specimen total current, the resistive phase, loss angle or whatever we call it as, then Cp is equivalent parallel capacitance of insulation specimen test voltage, and then Rp is equivalent parallel resistance of the insulation specimen. Then equivalent replaced in time due to violations. See, this is a track record which I have, that during the year I have replaced grading capacitors 12 number. In 2013 I also replaced so many. In 13-14 there's 6 number, because awareness has increased during this period. And again, if you look into cities, in 2011 and 12 I have replaced 6, bushing I have replaced 8, and in 2013-14 I replaced 25 bushings. And then the very meaning of this is that when there was an awareness, the decisions were taken, and we have replaced this bushing to avoid the major damages, that is blasting or the fire. Now, these are the certain examples where results were expressed. Compare. See, it is a case of a 50 MVAR bus reactor. Location is shown as X. Location has been hidden for 1992 make, and we found that there was certain problem in the CN10 level. No, process followed. Again, when when CN10 delta, immediately there are certain actions when you can take when it is varying. We can follow one of the method, or one of the decision is that you can drain out or apply value, then breaking vacuum with nitrogen and kept it for 24 hours, repeated in 3 cycles, oil filled under vacuum, air release, retesting and charging. And after this, we found that the values were improved. Values has got improved on account of, and this variation in C and tell delta was on account of moisture in the YD. So this is one of. Now, there are numerous examples which I have already stated. Now, only the thing is that we have to take a timely decision. Otherwise, as per the picture shown here, which one is better? Either we face the music of failure of equipment, and then looking into the extent of damage which we can happen from this photograph itself is very explanatory, or we take a advanced precaution to save this. Thank you. When we feel we are being poisoned by stress, pressure, pain relief, pray, nothing more, nothing less. My dear friends, supply has to continue, word has to continue, power has to continue to the houses, and like this, the action has to be taken. Okay, thank you, good night.